After my mom remarried her affair partner, he moved into my house demanding special accommodations for his child and asked me to leave, but I had to remind them I own it. My parents divorced 3 months ago and things have been incredibly hectic for me and my father. As my mother earns less than my father, in the divorce, she asked for the house we were living in. She did not get the house because I am the owner of it. She insisted that she wanted to stay in the house because it is closer to her job. While my father can shift, as my father's office was a 3-hour drive from our home, but a 30-minute drive from my grandparents' house. As this was an amicable settlement, there weren't any papers signed, but my father told me that I'll have to live with my mom. I hated every bit of it, but my father, like always, told me that just because they are going through a divorce does not mean I am supposed to help my mom out. So I should simply adjust. I could have told him that I do not wish to be stuck adjusting like he was, but I held my tongue. Fast forward to now, my mom married her affair partner 2 months into the divorce, and not only that, she brought him home with her. It pissed me off seeing him in the house that I grew up in. Trying to take the role of my father, but I still did not cause a scene. Because of everything, I was doing my best to ignore his entire existence and mind my own business. I did not get in his way and made sure that he did not get in mine. I barely spoke with my mom, and every day after I came home from college, I would go back to my room. Now when my mother told my father that she is divorcing him, my father kicked her out of the house. The one good thing he did, and she lived with the AP until the court hearing was done. During this time, my father shifted me into the master bedroom because he did not want her side guy sleeping in the same bed as he did. I understood his logic and I moved into the master bedroom. We burnt the mattress together because my dad knew that the AP had dropped by our house and he did not want me sleeping on that bed like he had to. We also threw out the couch I caught some making out on when I was 16. So relevant to the story, I have the master bedroom. The AP not only stole my mom, but also dared to sit me down on a weekend while my mom was there and tell me that he needs me to move out of the master bedroom because they were expecting a child through surrogacy in 4 months and staying in this master bedroom would be incredibly comfortable for them to prepare for the baby. I looked at his audacity and I told him no. I told him that the room he sleeps in, the guest bedroom, has an attached bathroom. He would not require the master bedroom for that. And I left the conversation because I thought I was being logical, and it made sense, but not to him. 2 days later, he told me that he is done living with me. He does not want any strangers in the house when he's having a baby via surrogate and wants me to move out to the university dorms. I asked my mom if she was the one who put him up to this, and my mom said how I should look at the family and take care of the unborn child because I'm older. I laughed in their face and told the SMD that he is more than welcome to leave the house if he does not like the room allotted to him. He turned to my mom and said something akin to, "You are going to let your daughter speak to me like that," before my mom could say anything. I told him that he can take her with him to whatever place that they would be better suited for because I own this house, and I do not wish to live in the same house with ungrateful people like him. He started screaming at my mom because he was under the assumption that she was the owner of the house. I told both of them that they had an hour to pack whatever they needed and I needed them to leave. I was done seeing my mom and him pretending to be a happy family in the house which they kicked my dad out of. They left eventually after screaming at me a bunch, and then I received calls from my dad. He said, "I'm an extremely selfish person just like my mother, and I have been wondering if I was truly selfish for kicking them out." I will try to give the backstory here because a lot of you had been asking about that. I am 22, female, and I have known about my mom's infidelity since I was 16, and walked in on her kissing a man in our living room. She is a teacher at the local middle school, and my father is an architect. Both of them led extremely busy lives, but I never thought that my mother would stoop so low as to cheat on my father like this. When I tried to tell my father about it, the way he reacted made it pretty obvious that he was in denial. It was not even the subtext that my mom had been cheating on my dad for a while, and my dad knew about it, but refused to accept the truth. I tried to tell him about this whole situation repeatedly, but he refused to listen. He simply could not fathom the idea that his high school sweetheart was over him. I told him to confront her, and every time I did, I was the one he took his rage out on, calling me disrespectful towards my mother. It was strange seeing the farce of a relationship they had, and how tightly my dad clutched onto that facade of a happy relationship. It was sad. When I confronted my mother asked me what I was planning on doing about it. It was not like I have any options, and if I bothered her too much about it, it would not be an issue for her to kick me out. She reminded me that I am almost 18 and it will not be unheard of if she were to kick me out. So, yeah. The situation was pretty bad. When I told my father about this finely veiled threat, he told me that he can make sure that she can no longer threaten me like this, but I have to promise to listen to everything he said, which included I had to pretend to be oblivious to my mom's cheating. When I told him that I do not want to play these games of charade, my dad insisted that we must care about the image of the family, and we mustn't air out the dirty laundry. It was funny hearing him say that because my mom has done everything to make it obvious she did not care. I had no idea why he cared, but I wanted to respect his wishes, so I agreed. My dad was the owner of the house, so it was pretty easy changing the ownership. That's pretty much how I ended up with a house in my name. The reason why I couldn't move out of my house was that I am a self-funded student. My home is near my university, and I am working my way through college to graduate without a huge student debt. It would have been extremely hard on me if I were to move out. That's why my mom could threaten me. But as far as everything else is going, my dad is still upset with me because of the fiasco. I did. My mom has been calling me names because how dare I kick her, and she's expecting a fair partner on the street. But I have got a feeling she's madder at me for making sure his of a husband knew what a lying bastard she is because she didn't bother telling him that the house was mine even though she knew. My grandparents, Dad's parents, learned about what I did and told me that they want to have a chat with me. I don't know if I want to go there as my dad is living with them right now. Honestly, I have no idea why my father decided to move out the way he did, but it is what it is. Should I do it? I don't want to have him call me selfish to my face again because I do not think that I was. My dad is moving back with me. I went over to my grandparents' house after uni. It's a 3-hour drive from my uni and I planned on staying over for the weekend. My grandparents looked angry with me and I understood their attitude. The conversation was very tense and I was genuinely worried that they were going to go off on me when Dad came back after work. He was surprised to see me, but he didn't look angry anymore. We hugged after 2 months of barely being able to see each other, and I low-key felt emotional. He fussed over me a little, talking about how I looked tired and stressed, which is true. I wasn't taking care of myself that much and having AP in my house was irritating. I told him that I'll take care of myself now, and that I don't have to deal with AP, and that brought a shift in the mood. He insisted that I was rude for behaving the way I did. I was supposed to be mature and responsible. I told him that I was both because I did take care of the person I loved. He refused and started saying how kicking and expecting man out on the streets was not me taking care of him. That's where my grandparents interjected. They told him to understand that kicking out that man wasn't the best way of showing my love, but given he did ruin my dad's marriage, it's only fair that he gets the same. Karma is and it was time for him to get served. I am paraphrasing, but that is pretty much how this went. My father seemed to consider what they were saying. I told Dad that he owned the house before I did and he was the one who paid for it. Mom did nothing to help him out and instead cheated on him. There's no reason why he must be nice to her or her AP when she hasn't shown the same decree. I asked him to come home with me and my grandparents agreed. They told him to go home with me. My dad said he'll think about it, and last night he told me that he will. So we will be driving home tomorrow and as far as Mom is concerned. Last I heard that she is moving in with AP into his parents' basement. So that's pretty much it. You are NTAOP. The only hole in this story is your mom. She cheated on your dad and then moved into the same house with her affair partner. She's so entitled. Dad is too harsh on you, OP. You are NTA. I would have done the same. My son and I have had our fair share of difficulties. We get along better now, but since I don't see him as often as I'd like to, the times when we do see each other are important. He usually celebrates Christmas with my family since his dad is an agnostic Jew, and it's an important time for us. My son was previously my daughter and came out as transgender to me 2 years ago. I honestly blame the last Christmas he spent with my family for him telling his father so long before me. I think he has been uncomfortable with my family and missed the past few years because my family reacted badly about him coming out as being attracted to women. He doesn't want to be labeled as straight now since he sees himself as a gay man. The last Christmas he celebrated with us, it was my mistake for telling them at all, but I didn't know how to cope with it at the time. They were saying some things to him which weren't right, especially since he was really just a kid, and he reacted by crying and literally running out, which just escalated everything. At first, I was excited to have him agree to Christmas with my family again, but now I'm realizing that what happened is going to be that, but much worse. I don't want to see my son crying again, and I want to improve our relationship. My solution seems to be causing more issues. I was thinking I could celebrate Christmas with my family without him, and then do a separate Christmas celebration with him. I even told him he could bring his girlfriend, something he would not be able to do if he went to my family's Christmas. The issue is the only other days around that time that I'm free. I'm doing Christmas with my fiancé's family, and then me and the girl's been friends since high school. Have this tradition that I can't skip. My fiancé is also struggling to be accepting, so I can't bring my son to her family's Christmas either. My son was upset because I had talked about how great our Christmas was going to be since we hadn't seen each other in a while. I said that we're still going to have a great Christmas and honestly a better one without my family. He says he doesn't care about not being able to celebrate with my family. He says that he wanted to celebrate with me and I told him he still will. He started saying that he's always the lowest priority in my life, and that he doesn't want to try to have a relationship with me anymore. For any other moms out there, I'm pretty sure you can understand why I'm writing here. That hurt, but there's nothing else I can really do. So would I be the a-hole? I thought he was just being sensitive, but typically when your kid is being sensitive, it's still important. I know that from experience. Buddy, your son has told you that he's the lowest priority in your life because you've shown him that. That hurts. That's because it's true and you know it. Uda, ask your son what he needs from you and do it. If you want this to be right, you are his mother. Act like it. YWBTA, if your son is your priority, make him your priority. Pick him. Ask him how he wants to celebrate, whether it's just the two of you or whatever family he wants to celebrate with. He should never be made to feel uncomfortable because he's trans. He should come first. He's more important than your high school buddies, your fiancé who is struggling to be accepting, or your family who made him cry by telling him that. You can't change these commitments. You're telling him that they're more important than him than not. I, 30, male, have been friends with my friend Mark, 27, male, for roughly 5 years. We're completely different people who met at work and somehow became pretty close friends. 3 years into our friendship, Mark started becoming sick. No one really knew what was going on, but it all escalated into him passing out at work and needing an ambulance to get to a hospital. I could sense he was scared because he didn't know what was wrong with him. I took it extremely seriously and stood by his side through it all. Whenever he texted or called me because of his medical emergency, aka him being scared to collapse or faint randomly, I'd immediately answer and go see him. I spent many days by his side and often spent all day accompanying him until his wife or a direct family member took over. This all went on for roughly a year until he was finally diagnosed with severe anxiety and panic disorder. He did get it treated through therapy and returned to a new normal, being able to do things alone again. In the meantime, my life had changed drastically. I found a new job, met my now wife, and we moved into our own place. Naturally, we hadn't seen and spoken much during that time because I was so busy. Anyway, I found out that Mark's condition had gotten worse recently when he called me in the middle of the night asking me to accompany him until his wife would be back from work. I did go to see him, and upon asking him why therapy was no longer helping, he claimed he quit therapy because he wanted to get through it on his own. I asked him if his family knew, but he said he didn't want to worry them, so they don't know. His wife knows. Well, his calls became more frequent again, but this time it was hard for me to just leave everything and be there for him. At first, I was there for him again, but with time, I just didn't have the energy to do so anymore. His requests became irrational and more demanding. And while I have sympathy for him and his condition, I see no point in putting up with it if he's refusing proper medical help, let alone help from his immediate family. I started making up excuses why I couldn't help him at certain times. It all boiled down to last Thursday when I got a message from him at 4 a.m. asking me to take him to his parents' place because he was having a medical emergency. I saw the message, but I ignored it because I just couldn't take it anymore. In fact, I ghosted him and went back to sleep. The next day, I pretended to have slept through his text and found out he had managed to stay at home until his wife got there, but he didn't fail to make me feel bad for ignoring his messages. He's given me the cold shoulder since. I know he's mad I didn't answer or help him when he needed me. I do feel guilty, but I thought if it really was an emergency, he could call an ambulance. So read it, AITA for ignoring my friend during another one of his medical emergencies? NTA at all. So many people feel so entitled to make their medical problems other people's responsibilities, whether it may be mental or physical. I also do sympathize with Mark, and I understand how much you have tried to help, but he needs to understand that you are not his on-call caretaker. If he wants that, then he needs to look into a professional or a consenting adult that is okay with playing such a role. Clearly, you have started to put up your boundaries and I commend you for that. He isn't thinking about how this can affect your own physical and mental health as well as those around you, like your wife and potential future pets and children. I would suggest just having a conversation with him about it and explaining how you are simply not capable of playing this role for him. Although you want to be a part of his life and support him, you cannot be who he calls every time. Your friend is very manipulative and it is not your fault that he refuses to get the help he needs. He's using you as a scapegoat since he has no one else to blame his problems on. And now this is his use for you, nothing more. You are not a source of comfort for this man. He wants someone to buy his victim story and to play the blame game when they refuse to comply. I would suggest you go fully no contact. He is a very abusive person by giving you the cold shoulder the one time you wouldn't be at his beck and call. And that says a lot more about him and his condition than what he says about himself. I firmly believe this man has a serious mental illness. You need to cut him out of your life. It will continue to escalate with a person like this. He needs help that no average person can provide. NTA